Returning home early, only to discover my wife's secret. Returned early from a business trip, only to discover my wife's secret. I came back 2 days earlier from my business trip. I knew my wife was off today and wanted to surprise her. I tiptoed into their house, opened the bedroom door, and was not expecting to find my wife, behind my back, doing something. The week-long business trip had felt especially long. My mind was filled with thoughts of my wife. When my task finished ahead of schedule, I had no reason to stay longer, so I returned home. The moment the plane landed, my heartbeat quickened, holding the gift I'd prepared for her tightly in my hand, rushing back home. I was eager to see her as soon as possible. I crept quietly and opened the door. I saw my wife in lingerie, taking selfies. She was startled when she saw me, her eyes wide with panic. "Why are you home early?" she asked. Seeing her in such a seductive pose made my throat dry. My wife and I have been together since university. We were a golden couple, madly in love, inseparable. We were the envy of many classmates. We got married right after graduation, and it's been 3 years now. Despite being married for 3 years, we still loved each other deeply, and our life was incredibly sweet. I smiled and replied, "Of course, I missed you." I quickly went to take a shower. When I came out, she had already gone to bed, blushing deeply. While I smoked a post-coital cigarette, I began to feel something was off. Although I had been with my wife, Lin Xiao, for so many years, she was never one to be open like this. I had asked her several times if she would take some lingerie photos for me, but she always refused firmly. But now, she was secretly taking selfies at home. And she didn't send them to me. Who else would she send them to if it wasn't just for herself? Her phone was left on the bed as she went to shower. Just then, her phone pinged with a message. I hesitated for a moment before grabbing it. I had never checked her phone before, having no reason to suspect her. I always believed that privacy and boundaries were necessary in a marriage. Although I knew her phone password, when I tried it, it didn't work. I tried her birthday, my birthday, and our wedding anniversary, still no luck. For the past few months, she had been carrying her phone around with her, sometimes spending an hour in the bathroom texting, laughing out loud. I asked her who she was chatting with, and she told me it was a new friend, a woman named Wang Fang. She even showed me her profile picture, which was of a beautiful woman. The chats were casual, so I didn't think much of it. Then, I asked my good buddy, Qin Hao, who worked at the same company as my wife, if he knew anyone named Wang Fang. He said no. I felt uneasy. "Is there a gym downstairs in your building?" I asked. Qin Hao confirmed that there was one, and that it was owned by their company's boss. The company gave each employee a free annual membership. My wife loved working out, and she went almost every day. Qin Hao was puzzled. There's no Wang Fang at the gym either. By the way, what's up with you asking about her? I decided to tell him everything. I mentioned that my wife had been chatting with Wang Fang for months, and I had no idea how they met. Qin Hao laughed it off, saying, "What's the big deal? Two women chatting isn't that unusual. Maybe they met online. You're just overthinking it." I hung up, laughing to myself. Maybe I was being a little too sensitive. Later, I prepared a lavish dinner, bought expensive red wine, and a huge bouquet of roses, waiting for my wife to come back from work. But she was late. I called her, but her phone was off. Finally, at 11 o'clock, she returned home, looking tired. I noticed her legs. She had been wearing black stockings when she left this morning, but now her legs were bare. She hurried in and apologized, saying she had to work overtime. I looked at the cold food on the table, suppressing my anger. "Why didn't you call me to let me know?" She lowered her head as she took off her shoes. "My phone died." She went straight to the bathroom without saying much. I had already confirmed with Qin Hao that there was no overtime scheduled at her company tonight. My fists clenched as I sneered. Had she learned to lie? Was she always this way? But I had been too trusting to notice. I silently dumped the cold food into the trash, my heart cooling as I realized how things were changing. Later, when we were intimate, I noticed a faint kiss mark on the inside of her thigh. It was in a hidden spot, not easily visible. In our early days, we often left marks on each other's skin, so I was sure it was a hickey. My mind went blank. She seemed annoyed and said, "Stop it, you're tired too. Don't overdo it." She pulled the covers over herself and turned away, quickly falling asleep. I lay there, unable to sleep. I remembered the time when I asked her, "What would you do if I cheated on you? Would you divorce me?" She had answered seriously, saying she would never divorce me, only be a widow. At the time, I had felt content and happy. That night, we had been deeply connected. But tonight, I couldn't sleep at all. I waited until she was in deep sleep and took her phone, unlocking it with facial recognition. I opened her chat history with Wang Fang. What I saw shattered me. The messages were filled with disgusting content. My wife, babe, my legs are still sore after working out today. Wang Fang, har har, next time I'll be gentler. You looked stunning today in the gym. My wife, you're such a charmer. Do you think my husband would go crazy if he found out about us? Wang Fang, who cares about him? Doesn't he treat you well? My wife, I really want to see you right now. Wang Fang, last time in the equipment room, you were so bold. My wife, that's because of you. Stop being so annoying. Do you think if I divorce my husband, we could be together? Wang Fang, that would be amazing, babe. I'll spoil you forever. My wife, HMPH, you better be good to me then. But seriously, being with you makes me feel like a woman again. My husband has made me feel that way in a long time. Wang Fang, doesn't appreciate you? My wife, I know. You're the best for me. Wang Fang, so, do you love your husband more, or me? My wife, of course, I love you more. That boring guy, doesn't know how to be romantic. And you're wealthy and low-key, driving $1 million car and working hard as a coach. There were dozens of selfies from my wife in lingerie and various outfits, including uniforms. I had bought all of these clothes for her. I was stunned. I had asked her multiple times to take lingerie photos for me during my business trip, but she refused. Now, she was taking photos in them and sending them to Wang Fang? I had been so trusting, so foolish. My wife had lied to me all this time. My limbs went numb, and a wave of nausea surged in my stomach. I felt disgusted. But I forced myself to hold back from vomiting. I bit my lip tightly, causing it to bleed slightly. Wang Fang, baby, how about I come to your house next time? When will that damn husband of yours be on a business trip? Wife, he's just back from his trip. Fine, I'll message you next time he goes away. These 2 messages were sent today. I scrolled through the entire chat history between my wife and Wang Fang, a 3-hour exchange, from casual daily chats to things I could never have imagined. At first, I was in disbelief, then furious, and eventually numb. I looked at my wife, Lin Xiao, who was sound asleep, my gaze cold. My heart was completely shattered. I took screenshots of their chat history and sent them to my WeChat for safekeeping. I erased all traces on her phone and placed it back exactly where it was. Like nothing had ever happened. I had Qin Hao help me gather all the information about Lin Xiao's fitness trainer. He has wide connections, and within a day, he sent everything to my phone. It turned out that Wang Fang's real name was Wang Qiang, a man living off women. He had recently been married into the Li family. His wife, Li Rong, though older and overweight, was wealthy, owning several media companies. Originally, Li Rong had Wang Qiang managing one of her companies, but his incompetence led to constant losses, so she had him return to his previous career as a fitness coach. The $1 million sports car he drove was a gift from Li Rong. Currently, Li Rong was pregnant. I found Li Rong's contact information on a corporate website. I called her pretending to inquire about a job, and after confirming it was her, I hung up. Over the next few days, I took leave while Lin Xiao went to work. I secretly installed high-end hidden cameras in various corners of the house. I glanced at the date. Tomorrow was Lin Xiao's birthday. I decided to give her a surprise. That evening, as we lay in bed, I looked at her apologetically. Sweetheart, the company asked me to go on a business trip tomorrow. I'm afraid I can't spend your birthday with you. In the past, my wife would have been upset, but tonight she understood and hugged me warmly. It's okay, darling. Work is more important. I was both surprised and touched and hugged her back tightly. I'm really happy that you understand, honey. When I come back, I'll make up for your birthday. She smiled gently. I know you feel guilty, but don't worry, we'll celebrate when you get back. Take good care of yourself while you're away, don't overwork. I nodded and gently stroked her hair. Don't worry, sweetheart. You take care of yourself too. If anything happens, just call me. She softly replied, I love you, no matter where you are, I'll always be thinking of you. I felt warmth fill my heart and replied, I love you too, I'll be back soon. The next day, my wife personally packed my luggage, lovingly sending me off. She repeatedly reminded me to take care of myself. I was deeply moved, nearly in tears. I checked into a hotel, dropped off my luggage. Today was Lin Xiao's birthday. Such an important day, and I wasn't at home, so she would surely be spending it with Wang Qiang. I called my mother-in-law. The phone quickly connected. Mom, it's Lin Xiao's birthday today. I'll pick you up later and we can celebrate together. You mentioned buying a car for Lin Zi last time, and I haven't forgotten. Once we're done with the birthday, I'll take you to their 4S shop to check out the cars. I reminded her not to tell Lin Xiao that they would be coming, wanting to surprise her. My mother-in-law was overjoyed when she heard I was buying a car for her precious son, and agreed happily. I hung up the phone and called Lin Xiao's other two close friends, Zhang Lili and Wang Qian, asking them to join us in celebrating Lin Xiao's birthday. They both agreed without hesitation. Though Lili and Qian were Lin Xiao's best friends, the three of them were more like fake sisters, secretly undermining each other behind the scenes. When they arrived, I noticed that Lin Xiao's eldest aunt and second aunt were also there. They had been visiting my mother-in-law and decided to join as well. I had already bought a cake and flowers and handed a camera to my brother-in-law, Lin Ziyi, to record everything. As we arrived downstairs, I didn't rush to bring them upstairs. I checked the surveillance feed and saw that the surprise had already begun. I then led them upstairs. To surprise Lin Xiao, we all tiptoed, careful not to alert her. As I pushed open the bedroom door, my brother-in-law and Lin Xiao's two best friends yelled, "Happy birthday!" Everyone squeezed into the bedroom, and right there, we saw Lin Xiao and Wang Qiang. Everyone froze, mouths agape, unable to believe their eyes. My mother-in-law and father-in-law's smiles instantly disappeared. They stood there, shocked as if struck by lightning. Lin Xiao was utterly stunned. She screamed and quickly grabbed a blanket to cover herself. Wang Qiang's face turned pale. In panic, he tried to find a place to hide, but there was nowhere to go. He could only crawl back into bed with Lin Xiao. My brother-in-law was the first to react. His eyes widened in rage as he rushed forward, kicking Wang Qiang and shouting, "You bastard! Who the hell are you?" Lin Xiao's two best friends were trembling with anger. One of them said, "Lin Xiao, how could you betray your husband like this?" The other pulled out her phone, preparing to record the scene. I let out a cold laugh. As expected, they are just plastic sisters. My father-in-law and mother-in-law were so angry their lips were trembling. My mother-in-law pointed at Lin Xiao and cursed, "You shameless thing. You've ruined our family's reputation." My father-in-law clutched his chest, seemingly struggling to breathe. I slowly walked into the room and looked at Lin Xiao, who was curled up in bed, trembling with fear. She asked shakily, "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" Lin Xiao had lost her mind. She screamed, "Why are you here? What's going on?" The camera was still filming, and Wang Qiang quickly covered his face. He anxiously said, "Please, don't film me." "Why are you filming me?" I was in immense pain and said, "Lin Xiao, I carefully prepared a birthday surprise for you, specially bringing my parents over to celebrate with you. Tell me, what's going on? How could you do this to me?" My father-in-law's face darkened, and he immediately slapped Lin Xiao hard. He sternly shouted, "You're an animal. How did our Lin family end up with a shameless person like you?" My father-in-law wasn't satisfied after slapping Lin Xiao once and tried to slap her again, but my aunts quickly pulled him back. Lin Xiao held her reddened face and shouted, "Lin Ziyi, turn off the camera, stop filming, and get out of here." My father-in-law, still furious, yelled, "Get out! You shameless thing! Shen treated you so well, and you betrayed him." Lin Ziyi also scolded, "Yes, sis, today, my brother-in-law even promised to buy me a car. You actually did such a thing. If I lose my car, I won't let this go." Wang Qian questioned, "Lin Xiao, Shen is such a good person, how could you not cherish him and do something so shameless?" I thought to myself, I have to divorce today. Afterward, I'll give Lin Xiao an even bigger surprise. I rushed over, walked up to Lin Xiao. I sorrowfully said, Lin Xiao, I know you love me, right? It must be that bastard who forced you, right? My mother-in-law's eyes brightened when she heard this. Yes, yes, our Lin Xiao loves you so much, how could she cheat? She pointed at Wang Qiang and yelled, it must be you. You must have insulted my daughter. My father-in-law, his anger surging, immediately dragged Wang Qiang off the bed and kicked him a few times. Lin Xiao stared wide-eyed at the chaotic scene, unsure how to respond. I walked over to Wang Qiang and slapped him a few times. Furious, I said, you bastard. How dare you insult my wife? I'll make you pay for this. I'm calling the police right now. I took out my phone, ready to call the police. Wang Qiang grabbed my pants leg and begged, no, no, please don't call the police. I'll give you whatever you want. Just don't call the police. I kicked him to the floor. Do you think money can solve everything? You shameless bastard, no amount of money will make up for the harm you've caused me today. I picked up my phone again and said firmly, I'm calling the police. I want you to rot in jail. Seeing this, Wang Qiang quickly crawled over and continued pleading, please, please, don't call the police, I really know I was wrong. I won't dare again. I can leave here and never show up in front of you again. Seeing that I wasn't moved at all, he pointed at Lin Xiao and said, it's not like that, I loved Lin Xiao too. I didn't force her, she was willing. I gritted my teeth, even now, you dare to insult my wife's dignity? I'll kill you today. I picked up a bedside lamp and made a move as if to smash it. Lin Xiao desperately hugged me, shouting, don't hit him. It was my choice. I froze, and everyone in the room gasped. My hand fell limp, and the lamp dropped with a crash. I looked at Lin Xiao in disbelief and hoarsely asked, why? Why are you doing this? Lin Xiao's face was streaked with tears. She kept shaking her head, unable to speak. My father-in-law and mother-in-law trembled with anger. My mother-in-law stepped forward and slapped Lin Xiao, scolding, you shameless thing. How could you do something like this? My brother-in-law also angrily pointed at Lin Xiao, saying, sis, you've really let us down. My wife's two best friends stood to the side, exchanging worried glances, unsure of what to do. Wang Qiang, seizing the opportunity, tried to sneak away, but my brother-in-law grabbed him. He glared fiercely at Wang Qiang, don't think you can run away. This matter won't be over just like that. I looked at Lin Xiao, my eyes filled with disappointment and anger. What does our marriage mean now? How could you betray me so easily? Lin Xiao bit her lip, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. But me and him. I don't know how we ended up here. I sneered, oh, you don't know how it happened. Then what do you plan to do now? Lin Xiao looked up at me, a flash of determination in her eyes. Through gritted teeth, she said, Shen Chen, let us get a divorce. I went crazy. Divorce? You're going to divorce me for some wild man. Lin Xiao, think carefully before you speak. We agreed that whoever cheats would leave with nothing. Lin Xiao ran over, grabbed Wang Qiang's hand, her face full of determination. I love Wang Qiang truly, I'll leave with nothing, I'm willing. Let us divorce. My father-in-law, a traditional and conservative man, trembled with anger. He pointed at Lin Xiao, unable to control his rage, shameless, how did I end up with a daughter like you? Are you trying to kill me with anger? My mother-in-law, aunts, and uncles all tried to persuade Lin Xiao. But at this point, Lin Xiao was determined and wouldn't listen to anyone. I had been with Lin Xiao for so many years I knew her well. Once she got her head wrapped around something, she wouldn't care about anything else. My father-in-law issued the final ultimatum. Lin Xiao, if you choose him, we'll sever our father-daughter relationship. I'll pretend I never had a daughter like you. Lin Xiao's body trembled slightly, a flash of pain and struggle in her eyes. But in just a moment, she regained her resolute expression. She tightly held Wang Qiang's hand and looked at her angry father. Her voice was shaky, but still firm, Dad, I'm sorry, I know I've let you down. But I really love Wang Qiang, I can't live without him. If this is the price I have to pay for my choice, I accept it. Severing father-daughter ties. Fine, I won't regret it. Lin Xiao turned to me. Shen Chen, I'm sorry. Let us sign the divorce papers tomorrow. With that, Lin Xiao grabbed Wang Qiang's hand and left the bedroom without looking back. My mother-in-law stomped her feet anxiously. Sobbing, I cried out, "Daughter, you can't be so foolish. If you leave now, there's no turning back." Aunt and Big Aunt also shook their heads and sighed, trying to stop Lin Xiao. But Lin Xiao seemed bewitched, determined to leave. Once Lin Xiao left, my in-laws couldn't stay any longer, so they also left. In the end, I was left alone in the empty house, feeling an immense sense of relief. I sneered and said, "Divorce and leave with nothing, that's nothing. Lin Xiao, what you thought was true love is just a shameless mistress." Everything went smoothly. The next day, Lin Xiao and I officially finalized the divorce. The car, house, and joint savings were all left to me. Such a good thing, of course, deserved to be celebrated. That night, I invited Qin Hao and made a reservation at a high-end restaurant we usually couldn't afford. Unexpectedly, I bumped into Lin Xiao and Wang Qiang. Lin Xiao was clearly in a bad mood after being caught in bed yesterday and losing everything today. She saw me storming towards her. "Shen, haven't we already divorced? Why are you still bothering me?" Since the mask was off, I wasn't going to be polite. "Lin Xiao, we're just here for a meal. Do you think the trash you've thrown into the trash can is worth picking up again?" Lin Xiao's face turned pale with anger. What do you mean?" I said calmly, "Exactly what I said, do you need me to explain?" Lin Xiao paused, then sneered, "I know you're not happy, but do you really think a place this high-end is somewhere you belong?" Wang Qiang, who had been beaten up the day before, was also full of anger. He stepped forward to mock me. "HMPH, Shen, you don't even look at yourself. With your shabby appearance, you'll never be able to enter a place like this. Now that Lin Xiao's with me, she's lucky. Stop humiliating yourself here, just get lost." Lin Xiao coldly added, "With your salary, you dare to eat here? You really overestimate yourself." I smiled and said, "Is that so? Just the other day, I received a call from home. A few of my old houses are about to be demolished, and I'm about to get promoted, so soon I'll be able to eat here every day. Too bad, that demolition compensation was supposed to have your share, but now that we're divorced, it's none of your business anymore." Lin Xiao's face immediately changed, a hint of regret and unwillingness flashing in her eyes. But she quickly regained her composure. "Who cares about your filthy money? With Brother Qiang here, I can have anything I want." She then turned to Wang Qiang and asked sweetly, "Right, Brother Qiang?" Wang Qiang, proudly wrapping his arm around Lin Xiao's slender waist, replied, "Of course. We'll get you a luxury car and a villa. A man who lives off a woman, and yet owes over 8 million in gambling debts." Wang Qiang talks big without batting an eye. I spoke in a low voice, "Is that so, Wang Qiang? What do you think would happen if I sent yesterday's explosive video to Li Rong?" Lin Xiao, confused, asked, "Li Rong? Who asked that?" "Shen, stop making things up." Wang Qiang immediately panicked, forcing a tough attitude. You dare?" I ignored Lin Xiao and turned to Wang Qiang with a smile. "What do you think, Wang Qiang, do you think I dare?" Wang Qiang was completely flustered now. He quickly shook off Lin Xiao and walked toward me, lowering his voice. "Shen, let us talk this through, don't act rashly. As long as you don't send it, I'll agree to anything you want." Lin Xiao ran over and grabbed Wang Qiang. "Brother Qiang, why are you begging him? He's just bluffing. Besides, Brother Qiang, you're a rich second-generation millionaire, why should you be afraid of Li Rong?" Wang Qiang shoved Lin Xiao aside and coldly said, "Shut up." Lin Xiao's face looked terrible, and she stood frozen in place. I looked at Wang Qiang with an amused expression and said, "So, any condition is acceptable?" Wang Qiang looked extremely nervous, replying humbly, "Shenji, if you let this slide, I'll treat you like my brother. As long as it's something I can do, I'll never refuse." I said lightly, "Actually, my condition is very simple." Wang Qiang forced a smile, waiting for my next words. I then looked at Lin Xiao, who was standing there frozen, and said, word by word, "I want you to slap this shameless woman." Wang Qiang looked troubled. "This?" Lin Xiao was completely enraged. "Shen, what do you think you are? How dare you? Do you think Brother Qiang would slap me? Dream on." She looked at Wang Qiang tenderly. "And besides, Brother Qiang loves me so much, how could he bear to hit me? He has been so good to me." Qin Hao, standing behind me, muttered two words softly, "Idiot." I glanced at Wang Qiang, who looked conflicted, and loudly said, "Well, since you're unwilling, forget it. I'm the type of person who never likes to force others. Chin Hao, let us go, let us order." Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly heard the sound of a sharp slap. Smack! Wang Qiang had slapped Lin Xiao hard on the face. The slap was strong, and half of Lin Xiao's face immediately swelled up. Lin Xiao was completely stunned. She never imagined that the man who claimed to love her forever, the one she was willing to give up everything for, would slap her in public. Lin Xiao held her swollen face in disbelief. After a long pause, she finally came to her senses and screamed, "Wang Qiang, you slapped me for Shinchen. Are you even a man? You bastard!" She covered her face and ran off. Wang Qiang forced a smile and said, "Shinji, please don't send it tonight, just order whatever you want, it's on me." Seeing that I was silent, he quickly apologized and ran after Lin Xiao. After they left, Qin Hao sighed and said, "Back in college, so many people envied your sweet and loving relationship. After graduation, so many couples went their separate ways, but you two went straight into marriage. Who would have thought it would turn out like this?" I said lightly, "People change. I'm not the type to be indecisive. Once I made a decision, I wouldn't dwell on it excessively. We're all adults, and when we make choices, we need to bear the consequences that follow." Soon, the whole family and friends knew about Lin Xiao's infidelity. Many people called or texted to comfort me, condemning Lin Xiao's disgraceful behavior. When they learned that Lin Xiao and I had divorced, they all expressed their astonishment. I wonder what their faces will be like when they find out that Lin Xiao is now someone else's mistress? I didn't want to stay in our old house anymore, it felt dirty. I put the house up for sale at a price lower than the market value and sold it quickly. I bought a new place near my company, so I wouldn't have to deal with traffic during rush hours. My promotion came through soon after, and my salary improved significantly. I'm very satisfied with my current situation. My career is on the rise, and I believe through hard work, I'll reach even higher positions. Through Qin Hao, I learned that Lin Xiao and Wang Qiang had fought for a few days, but then reconciled. One day, Qin Hao sent me a hotel location and room number, saying he had seen them go in. I sneered and, using a pre-prepared anonymous number, sent Lin Xiao and Wang Qiang's chat records and cheating video to Li Rong. I sent a message. "Old woman, Wang Qiang said he never loved you. Why are you, this fat woman, still clinging to him? Do you still have any shame? Get the hell over here and sign the divorce papers right now, or suffer the consequences." After sending the message, I waited for a while. Sure enough, Li Rong called me, but I hung up. Once I confirmed that she had seen the content, I decisively turned off my phone and destroyed the unknown number. I took a leave from work, put on a mask and a hat, and hurried to the Dahao Hotel. The stage was already set, now it was just a matter of watching how the drama would unfold. When I reached the floor where Lin Xiao and the others were, I took a smoke break by the stairs. Then I saw the fat old woman leading a group of people, marching toward the room. One of the women in a red dress was holding a phone. It seemed like she was live streaming. This live streaming woman looked familiar, and I suddenly realized she was a popular influencer with 8 million followers. Her name was Xiao Jinkai, and she was quite famous in Jiangcheng. I didn't expect her to be a streamer under Li Rong's media company. Li Rong and her crew were very aggressive. They kicked open the door with force. The noise was loud, and people in the nearby rooms started to open their doors and gather to watch. I also joined the crowd to see the drama unfold. When Li Rong saw the scene inside, she immediately cursed. "Well, Wang Qiang, you eat my food and use my money. I'm even pregnant, and you dare to cheat on me." Right after that, Lin Xiao's shrill scream echoed through the entire floor. More people ran out to see what was going on after hearing the scream. At this moment, Wang Qiang was being pinned down on the bed by 2 burly men. Lin Xiao, barely wrapped in a bath towel, was trembling and curled up in a corner. Her hair was wet, clearly just having gotten out of the shower. Li Rong's face twisted in anger as she shouted, "Hit him!" A group of people immediately surrounded Wang Qiang and Lin Xiao. A woman grabbed Lin Xiao by the hair and slapped her hard. 2 strong men dragged Wang Qiang to the ground and started kicking him. Li Rong, not yet satisfied, rushed forward and kicked Wang Qiang hard in the crotch. Wang Qiang's face turned white instantly. The whole floor echoed with Wang Chong's screams that sounded like those of a pig being slaughtered. All the men present involuntarily sucked in a cold breath. Li Rong's kick was so strong that it looked like Wang Qiang was done for. Wang Qiang was rolling on the ground. After a while, he crawled to Li Rong's feet, trembling. Babe, don't hit me. Let me explain. Li Rong kicked him aside. What's there to explain? I'll give you one chance. Speak quickly if you have something to say. Babe, she's just my sister. We really have nothing going on. The crowd burst into laughter. Such a lame excuse. They were both barely covered by bath towels. And now he's claiming they're siblings. Who would believe that? Li Rong, utterly enraged, kicked Wang Qiang a few more times. Sister? You dare call her your sister? You really think I'm a fool? I think she's just a cheap prostitute. Lin Xiao, a graduate of a prestigious university, had never been humiliated like this. Always proud and with a strong sense of self-respect, how could she tolerate such an insult? Fat woman, watch your mouth. You're the one who's a prostitute. Your whole family are prostitutes. Lin Xiao screamed as she tried to rush at Li Rong. But she was dragged back by the woman who had slapped her. You, a cheap woman, dare provoke me. Li Rong was now completely blinded by anger, rushing forward and giving Lin Xiao a beating. She slapped Lin Xiao more than 10 times, making her scream in pain. Wang Qiang was lying on the side, playing dead, too scared to make a sound. The chaos soon settled down. The hotel manager and security arrived to disperse the crowd. As they were leaving, Li Rong told Wang Qiang that she would get rid of the baby and that Wang Qiang would be left with nothing. Wang Qiang, kneeling and begging, was of no help. Li Rong showed no mercy, her face cold as she left. I waited for 10 minutes downstairs in the hotel. Wang Qiang, bent over and limping, finally came out, followed by Lin Xiao, whose face was swollen like a pig's head. At the entrance, the humiliated Lin Xiao tried to claw at Wang Qiang, cursing him as scum and worse. Wang Qiang, in debt and now stripped of everything, was furious but didn't hold back. He grabbed Lin Xiao and gave her a beating. If the security hadn't pulled them apart, Lin Xiao would have been seriously hurt. The pregnant wife's hotel fight with the mistress was live-streamed by Xiao Jinkai and quickly went viral. The identities of Wang Qiang and Lin Xiao were soon exposed and they became famous overnight. Within a few days, their scandal spread throughout Jiangcheng. The online comments flooded in. Everyone criticized and insulted them. Wang Qiang, the man who relied on others, cheated on his wife during her pregnancy. He was condemned by countless netizens. After losing Li Rong's support, Wang Qiang couldn't pay off the 8 million in gambling debts. I stealthily opened my door. Mother-in-law Lin Xiao had become the homewrecker, the shameless mistress, cursed by everyone. Voices of condemnation drowned her out like a tidal wave. Relatives, friends, and classmates all heard about it and called her shameless, saying she got what she deserved. My father-in-law and mother-in-law couldn't even lift their heads in their community, with countless people whispering behind their backs. After being beaten and publicly humiliated, Lin Xiao nearly had a mental breakdown. She tried to contact me many times, constantly begging for forgiveness. I didn't respond. Later, I heard she was diagnosed with severe depression and couldn't work anymore. Her parents had to lock her up at home and keep her from going outside, as she spent every day crying. End of story. Please like, comment, and support. Thank you so much.